super happy to have you join us, especially for the Level Up Your Career series. You've been a community member for quite some time and have participated in different discussions as well as in Magic. So, really happy to dive in a little bit deeper about you, what you're doing, and your career path. So, let's start off pretty easy with an introduction. And if you could just tell me a little bit about where you're at right now, your current role, and some of your top responsibilities.
Sure. Yeah. So my name is Kyle Jackson. I'm a senior business systems director at Seismic Software, and which is like a kind of a leading sales enablement platform. And as head of kind of our business systems operations, I'm mostly concerned with what we would call our core set of business applications, our CRM and Salesforce, our ERP and NetSuite, our HRIS and ADP, and making sure that all three of those things and the 1,000 other little tools that sit around them function well together. And that, we kind of have, there's always a lot of work going on all of them. And, to some extent, you've got to try and coordinate dependencies and a roadmap and so on and so forth. So yeah, that's what I spend most of my time on at a high level.
Right. And I did some snooping on your LinkedIn and I saw that you started off your career as a systems admin and later on an IT administrator. So now, as a senior director of business systems, can you kind of walk me through your journey to where you are right now and maybe highlight some pivotal moments?
Yeah. So, like you said, I kind of started, my first job was kind of managing a network of Apple computers, and we were like installing the software to kind of centrally manage them. And I had a bit of spent my early career as in just kind of like the general IT space. I worked in that kind of capacity on a bigger team where I was in charge of just that fleet of Macs. And then I went somewhere else where I was kind of in charge of everything. And that just kind of like forced me to learn so much more. And then eventually kind of landed doing exactly that in the tech space and ended up at a startup called Percolate, where it was just kind of, one of those startups where everybody kind of wants to be at because it's quickly growing, it's exciting, it's in a new category. And I think like that experience especially gets you exposure to so many other things, things that are relevant to your job. Like through all of that, ended up spending a lot of time working on Salesforce and integrations and data warehousing. So I got exposed to a lot more broad IT and business systems areas, but you also end up learning about just how every part of the business works. Like you hear the go-to-market strategy, you hear the sales compensation strategy. You just get exposure to so many ins and outs of how a business works. And I think that especially for in the business systems area, it's really having that kind of like high level picture of how everything interconnects that makes you effective as a leader as you're trying to look at the tech stack is a high level monolithic thing that you manage as a product. So I definitely would kind of highlight working at a startup environment like that, where you just get exposed to so many things. But plenty other, like, I guess, projects that went great, some that went bad, that you end up learning a lot about what to do and not do. But yeah, that's kind of how I got to where I'm at now.
Awesome. And I hear you say that, being in a startup and then kind of like switching different types of companies, you get exposure to the world of business technology and learning how every part of the business works. So now, as you moved on to your senior director role, what are some skills, abilities, or maybe like personal attributes that you would consider essential to the success of a BT leader?
Yeah, there's probably a lot. And I mean, I don't know, like there's probably lots of different personas of people who can be successful in the role. So the way I do it certainly isn't the way to do it, or not that there aren't other ways to do it. But I think that some that have served me especially well, other than just kind of like being a kind of broad generalist about having exposure to so many different types of systems, I would say like data skills are really, really effective. I think that knowing SQL and being able to like think of all of your applications as objects in tables and the relationships therein gives you a much deeper understanding of how your systems actually work and how they can and should work. So I would definitely highlight data skills as a key one. I also think just basic knowledge of how SaaS applications function. And I mean, yeah, like from the data store to the APIs to the front end, like kind of understanding like all of that and how it works. I guess those are some technical ones. There's certainly management and other ones. I think being curious and interested in whatever the latest thing is and what other people are doing, and like kind of like constantly exposing yourself to how other people are solving the problems that you are trying to solve. I think that as I've gone through my career, I think like anytime you have a new problem, you'll always have an inclination perhaps of what you should do. I think a great thing to start is like, how is everybody else solving this problem? Sure, you might come up with something new and be innovative and maybe start a company around your solution later. But even as you kind of get better and better and find that your original inclination was right or good, there's still just like kind of like so much to be learned from everybody else in the kind of broader community.
Yeah, I definitely love kind of like the term of like a lifelong learner. I feel like a lot of BT people definitely kind of exude that type of behavior.
Yep. Yeah, like any channel you can find to like get a feed of what trends are going on, what's new. I've been like talking about random things and someone like, how do you like keep track of all this stuff? I'm like, I don't actually know how I do it anymore, but I guess I just like subscribe to the right RSS feeds and have conversations with the right people periodically. Because it is a lot. It's changing quickly, and it can be, if you take your pulse off of it for a minute, it can blow by you.
And I heard you mention before, you worked on some projects that went really well, some that didn't. Are there any certain projects or accomplishments throughout your career that you are especially proud of?
Yeah. I think we did a really great job of doing a data warehouse and analytics when I was at Percolate. That was a really valuable one for the company. There's probably some others that are highlights, but kind of drawing a blank. So many.
That's okay.
There's some that went really bad. Some where I wasted a lot of money. Yeah.
You can't pick.
I mean, don't worry, I've done some bad ones.
Awesome. And just curious, was there ever a point kind of like in your career journey where you kind of questioned kind of the path that you're on, or wanted to make a switch, or maybe you wanted to take a different jump into another industry?
Yeah, I've definitely had a few. I don't think I ever had like an existential moment where I was like, oh no, I picked the wrong field and now I got to figure out how to pivot. Because I think I was kind of like always, even though I couldn't articulate like a whole kind of like career journey early on, like some people can. I think most people can't really. They just know what they're interested in and they know what they like. And so yeah, I never had like a big I should be doing something else moment. But I did have like various moments where I think, especially in IT, you have to you have to kind of pick some kind of direction, or I guess something to specialize in, or perhaps you just want to be a manager and focus in management. And when I also think that business systems is like a title, and a department was kind of emerging right at the time that I was kind of realizing that, yeah, it's actually like the interconnectedness of all of these applications and how they work together is really the most interesting kind of problem to solve in any given company. And it leverages everything that I kind of already learned and developed in an interesting way. And so I definitely had kind of like moments where I was like, what is this? Like, is it, of course it's always existed just by different names and with different technology. But yeah.
Awesome. I'm going to switch gears a little bit and ask you a little bit about Systematic. You've been a member for quite some time, and you've also participated quite a bit throughout the years, whether it be in discussions or hosting an event and speaking at a conference. Could you maybe talk a little bit about the importance as a business systems or business technology professional to be plugged in to a community, and maybe some of the benefits that you saw since joining Systematic?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely already spoke a little bit about just how it's one of the ways that you can keep a pulse on just everything that's going on in the technology world, especially as it relates to business systems. But yeah, actually for me, the strength of the Systematic community and it being kind of like full of peers that I kind of view as really relevant to my day-to-day, like other people with similar titles at B2B SaaS companies in the Bay Area. I just found like, yeah, having all these peers kind of accessible to you is really valuable, from like simple questions to like sanity checking your ideas to, trying to figure out your budget and just, how do you structure a team? How do you implement one of these departments in organizations that might be culturally resistant to having those things be managed by any centralized discipline? I just kind of found the people involved and the topics of the discussion to be incredibly relevant for what I do every day. And of course, I'm in like enterprise B2B SaaS, and there's a lot of people like that. I wouldn't want to discourage anyone in other verticals or industries from joining. If anything, like we probably need a little less B2B SaaS and more of everything else. But that's just a way to bounce ideas off each other, see what people are doing, meet and talk shop.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Well, we're very happy to have you join us. We always have a lot of great input whenever we collaborate. So very happy to have you. And kind of like as tradition, since we're coming to the end of the year, I wanted to take a quick look back and pick your brains on some projects moving forward. So
sure.
Now that we are closing out in 2021 and you are a senior director of business systems, what's next for you?
I mean, more of the same. I plan on staying at Seismic for the foreseeable future. And we're kind of growing and maturing in a lot of exciting ways. And I kind of want to just stay doing that. Are you trying to hear some specific projects, I guess, that we're looking to do?
Yeah, give us a snapshot.
Yeah. Well, one that I'm kind of particularly involved with and passionate about is we've done a lot of work in the last year to kind of bring managing our tenant infrastructure for our product, managing that within Salesforce. We kind of had a moment where we had like a really kind of old legacy system with a lot of limitations and security concerns for that anybody kind of in the company could use to stand up tenants. And we moved that into Salesforce, where we could put a bunch of governance and approval workflows. And we, of course, used Workato to broker the transactions from activity in Salesforce and the service behind the scenes that manages tenants. And we just want to take it like so much farther. Like we've acquired several companies over the years, and they have infrastructure that also has to be provisioned manually. And so we saw a lot of success with being able to provision Seismic tenants. We want to also support managing feature flags. We want to support actions on other tenants, and automating pieces of the like demo and trial tenant processes to just make all of that so much more streamlined and safer from a security perspective. And there's a lot of cool ways that it really helps us save money. We have, obviously it costs money to run tenants. And so we've got like a work system in Workato that when a demo tenant has been active for a while and it's kind of approaching our default expiration, it'll bug the person who created it and say, hey, do you still need this? If so, that's fine. But if not, like we can retire it and stop paying for it. So that's an area where we're going to do some cool stuff next year that I'm particularly interested in.
Yeah, sounds like you got a lot of exciting projects going on.
Yeah.
And just wanted to ask this question because I remember you saying that part of like being in BT and business systems, there's just so much going on, so many trends to keep the pulse on. So wanted to see what was your favorite maybe tech trend of 2021.
Well, I don't know if it's precisely fair to say this is like a 2021 thing. I mean, this is
your favorite tech trend
they existed before 2021, but one of the things that I got especially fired up about in 2021 was this tool called DBT, which is like kind of like a modeling layer that sits on top of Snowflake and gives you like a CI/CD DevOps kind of workflow for all the code that generates your tables in a data warehouse. I think that's kind of like I wouldn't have been able to articulate what was missing beforehand, but once it was there, I was like, oh yeah, that's the thing that's like kind of missing from a lot of the kind of incumbent data analytics providers. So that's a really cool piece of tech that I'm pretty stoked about.
Well, those are all my questions. Thank you so much for sitting down virtually and chatting with me. I loved hearing your story, kind of about having an open perspective and always having this mindset of learning to help you grow and to keep you on track with all the moving parts that are in business technology. So thank you so much, Kyle. Always fun chatting with you, and hope to see you around Systematics more.
Yeah, likewise. Thank you to you, and enjoyed it as always. I'll see you at the next one.